Right. Okay, so hello. This is Syed from yet another cube timer. He's developed an app or a web-based browser for smart cubes, which is designed to work with other smart cubes. So, I guess this is about it. So let's get to the application. So, what made you want to make an app like this then?
Yeah, well, I was pretty excited about smart cubes when I first heard of them. I because when I was trying to improve, one of the pieces of advice they give you is look at your breakdowns and sort of start and stop CS timer, figure out how fast you are at different things, and sort of track that. And I thought that smart cubes would be a good way to do that. But then I tried their apps and they were terrible. But so yeah, I
Yes.
just wanted to make my
Yes, they have improved them a bit recently, but they still aren't great. And yeah. And of course the issue is that the people designing these aren't native English speakers, so even if they were good in Chinese, that doesn't necessarily mean they translate well. So so how did you go about creating something like this then?
yeah, it was. There's a couple of tricky parts to it, like they encrypt the Bluetooth, so you can't easily access it, and they change them with every release. So yeah, you sort of have to look at a whole bunch of binary, hope someone else has figured out how to do it and published how to do it.
Oh wow,
uh,
okay. I didn't realize it was that complicated.
yeah, they don't want people to do this.
Okay. So are
um,
there other similar things? Because I haven't really looked into it that much. I think there's something called Cubast or something, but I
yeah, I think that's probably the best application of this. So little known fact, CS Timer actually does have SmartCube support. So you can connect a smart cube to it and you can do a solve, but its interface is sort of primarily for regular cubes, and so it doesn't really take advantage of the fact that you can connect to a smart cube. You
right.
can't really, most people don't know it, but even when you try it, you don't really see any breakdown like this.
Hmm.
I liked it more than everything else, but it wasn't really, uh, didn't really feel like what I imagined it would be, and so I sort of just went about making my own. I haven't really looked at it recently, so I can't really comment too much on it.
Right. Okay. Well, I've got this up here. So I guess let's do a solve. Um right. Okay, so we're going to test out this so it has so far perfectly, yep, it's perfectly done it. So I'm using the Qi Smart Cube for this one because it's the one that connected most easily for me, but you've said it works with GAN and MoU Smart Cubes as well. So uh,
Yeah, I have 12 UI here. That's what I use most of the time. So
right. Yeah, fair enough. Right, let's get a good solve hopefully on this. Oh, wait a minute. I don't need to start the space bar, do I? Okay. 8.50 and then oh 8.61. Okay. So then we can have a look at the statistics here. So it has actually got everything right this time, not tried to claim that I went straight into PLL from OLL. So how do you ensure that it is timing correctly and there's no delay between um, when the last turn is actually made and when the timer stops?
yeah, so part of the data that I get back from the cubes, from all of the different ones, is both the move and the timestamp. So I know at what point, according to the cube, that it happened, and sort of internally, I map the timestamps to from the first move, so I can know how long at each point each move was made. Um, and yeah, for the most part, that works.
Right. And yeah, it does seem quite reliable. I think there was one time where it like misrecognized one move and then had to reset it. But at least there's the functionality for that. You can just press the reset button up here. Um,
Yeah,
so you've also got OLL and PLL here. Um, so can you tell me a bit more about this?
yeah. So here you can select which cases you want the trainer to generate. So like in my case, I don't know .olls. So I'll just unselect the dot cases and I'll generate everything else. And then I go to the trainer, I do a bunch of solves and I look at the review to see which ones are my sort of slowest. And then I filter out the ones that I'm fast at. Like I don't need to do like the T shapes, for example, till I have something more manageable. And if, something that I've added, but I've sort of disabled for now to like get it right is um, training with like insertions and recognition so that you'd have to insert the edge first and then it would track your recognition and execution for the case to know like are you just executing it badly or are you recognizing it badly in sort of a real solve.
Yeah, that would be good because F2L last pair to OLL transition is something. And obviously, like nowadays, the top cubers are transitioning more into forcing across and doing ZBLL. But even so, I think it's still important to do F2L to OLL transition well. Right. So because you don't know dot OLLs, I'm going to train them. Right.
Yeah, and in my case, because I'm one of those rare white only solvers, you can select like which cross color you want. I saw you do a yellow solve. I'm guessing you're either dual or full color neutral. Uh, so you
Yes,
probably
I'm
don't
I'm
care about that.
completely color neutral, and I've just scrambled this cube with white top, green front, which means yeah, it's on yellow. So okay, so it's at the bottom, I guess.
Um,
And this
yeah,
is
so you can.
the rarest OLL case. I guess yeah, you can't see the cube because the cube's at the bottom. Um, is there any way of changing that?
Yeah, that will apply for the next case when you change the color. The next time it generates after you do the solve.
But it's like the cube is just a white top, green front. It can't move
Oh yeah,
around.
I need to add that to the trainer. That's a good spot. I do have. If you analyze a solve, you can actually move the cube.
Okay,
You can rotate that. So after you do this, we'll take a look at that.
right. Oh dear. It's I guess
Was it disconnected?
it's missed one move.
Yeah,
Um,
that sometimes happens with the Chi. There's functionality for missed moves that I've added. It sometimes tells you if it's missed a move. Oh, okay.
let's reset it. Okay. Right. Which OLL case do I have? Okay, that's a pretty easy one. Uh,
Yeah, you can also click on that time, see what case it was. Oh, right. For OLL, you don't actually need to solve the PLL to get the next case. As soon as the OLL is solved,
yes, yeah,
you
of
can go
course.
into the next one.
Yeah, right. Okay. But I guess the other thing is, surely you wouldn't, in reality, you wouldn't be scrambling OLL for OLL training, white top, green front. If you were a white cross only solver, surely you'd be scrambling like yellow top, green front.
So What it does is, depending on which cross color you select, it rotates the scramble itself. So that you have it
Frozen.
where you're rotated.
Okay, yeah, you froze for a few seconds, so
Uh,
just repeat that.
uh, yeah, no. The scramble generator, it rotates the scramble based on which cross color you selected, because it doesn't know which way you've rotated. Like the Qi doesn't have a gyroscope, so it always assumes that you have green front, white top, and if you say like red, it'll do the right rotation for the scramble so that it will give you the right color.
Okay, right, that makes sense. Right, okay, and then review. Okay, so that's just all the different levels. Right, and then you could, I presume you can do the same with PLL as well. Train, PLL, I should. And how does it work with generating these scrambles for different PLL cases?
Yeah, so I've handwritten scrambles for each case that are uh, sort of scramble friendly. So there's no like wide moves or rotations or slice moves. It's sort of just face turns. So there's some really awkward algorithms there in a file, but if anyone looked at, they'd be horrified.
So are they just like bad PLL algorithms that nobody would actually
Yeah,
use?
you can actually see them if you look at the algorithm section. This is kind of in progress, but there's a list of algs, and I didn't have time to replace them. So if you click on that filter icon, and if you click on not lent, yeah. So those for now are those same algs. I'm going to replace them with good default algs from PDFs and FastCube is what they recommend. I learned my algs from Cube Skills, but not a lot of people use those these days. Um, but yeah, those are those same algs, but you can edit them and replace them with an alg that you think is better. And you can also set which ones you've learned and haven't. But right now, I don't do anything with that. But the goal is to use that information when it's generating, um, when it's selecting cases. And depending on whether you're learning an algorithm or you've already learned it, but you want to get faster at it and recognizing it, it'll either focus just on execution or on F2L to OLL transition. Or in PLL, you'd still insert an edge and then you'd still insert a pair and go into PLL.
Right. Okay. So I guess the other feature is this race feature here. So I guess I can create a challenge, um, and then I guess you can see that short code right there. So you could join it right now, I presume. Right. Okay. So we both get the same scramble then. And
Ah, there was an issue with my connection. We're gonna have to recreate the challenge.
oh, okay.
Sorry. I'll connect first and then I'll join the challenge. Uh, all right. So create a new challenge.
You want me to? Okay.
Uh,
Right. Okay. XUTY4M. Okay.
okay.
Okay, so as soon as I make my first turn, it's going to start the timer. The same with you as well. Okay. Right, okay. And then we have statistics for both of us.
Oh yeah.
Oh, apparently I got a parallel skip again. I don't even remember whether that was true or whether that was just this. Okay, right. Let's do it again.
What's this best of?
Five.
All right. Let's see if I can get one.
Mhm.
It's consistent.
Yeah, I'm slow as well. Right, it doesn't think I got a parallel skip again. Hmm. I don't know what you could do about that though.
Yeah, I could see if I can do some kind of time limit for when it cancels moves into double moves, because it only detects single ones. So maybe I can say if they occur within a certain number of milliseconds, that is not a double move or something.
Yeah, that's probably what you'd have to do, isn't it? Right, okay. Parallel skip again. Okay. Maybe if you keep practicing with your app, you'll beat me at some point.
I got my PB on this actually on the 12
Oh,
UI
right.
5.55.
Okay. Yeah, my PB is well over a year old now. 4.936. Pure less layer skip. Yeah. That was actually an issue with the Cube Timer Android app. What I discovered was it doesn't actually have random state scrambles. It cycles a few thousand different scrambles. And so I had that same scramble a few more times, and I noticed, oh, I know exactly what's going to happen here. I'm going to get a last layer skip. So when I realized that, I was like, okay, I shouldn't use that app anymore. I still use it for big cubes sometimes, but I can't really use it for 3 by 3.
That's crazy. I was looking at the code for one of those cross plus one trainers, the one on the best site ever, and that had just like a list of scrambles for each cross length, like in a file somewhere.
Oh.
Because I was trying to figure out how do they find out how many cross moves a certain scramble is, and yeah, they just had a list of them, and that didn't seem right,
Hmm.
but it worked. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I presume this is complete random state, isn't it?
it's not random state the way that T-Noodle is for a program that they use for the WCA. This is random move scramble, so it's not stored somewhere. And over the long term, they have the same probability distributions, but sort of in short term in competitions, they want them to be random state to sort of be fair between different rounds, to sort of have the same sort of state distributions and be like equally difficult for each method. Whereas this sort of randomly selects moves, makes sure that you don't have like an R move and an L move and an R move. So make sure that it's not the same axis multiple times in a row or the same move, but it's random move, not random state. But it should be very unlikely to have like the same thing twice or anything like that, and it should have over the long term the same probability distribution.
Yeah, yeah. Because I presume it isn't the way T-Neural works is it generates a scramble and then generates an algorithm to get that scramble.
Uh, not sure the exact details of how they do it, but they look at the state of the cube when they're making the scramble to make sure that it's when they're generating the scrambles that it's sort of a statistically reliable kind of distribution. So it's sort of like um, in something like Tetris, for example, instead of randomly choosing it each time it generates a tetramino, it sort of has a bag of them and it takes them out. And statistically speaking, in the long run, they're the same thing. If you take them out of the bag, or you randomly select each time.
Hmm.
But in the short term, it looks different.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And then I saw you had this at Stevenage and a few other competitions, and you were trying to showcase it to a lot of cubers there. So, how did that go?
Yeah, I think it's people are starting to like it. I wasn't really sure how other people would react to it and how it would fare with people of different speeds, maybe different techniques and stuff like that. Like maybe someone would do ZBLL and I think they just keep getting skips and not understand why or something like that. Or maybe it wouldn't really be useful for someone doing more like beginner's method. But yeah, I think people liked this racing feature, and I think these kind of stats around execution and recognition times and even the different stages and move counts still broadly applied. And yeah, I mean, for quite a while, for like over 10 years when I was cubing, I hadn't really been to competitions. I didn't really know many faster cubers. It was mostly me watching online and not really knowing what techniques other people are doing and stuff like that.
Mm,
And yeah, it's been really interesting going to a lot of competitions recently and comparing how other people do it. And
yeah.
yeah,
And of course, like if speed cubing is going to become a spectator-friendly thing, like these sorts of statistics are what's going to be necessary. I don't know if you've heard that they've announced the Premier Speed Cubing League over in America recently, and they're going to have head-to-head competitions between top cubers in different parts of America. And yeah, maybe eventually this sort of data is necessary for stirring up the hype at these sorts of competitions.
yeah, I've heard of the PCL and I think it sounds great. Like, I really enjoyed the Monkey League when that was a thing because of a head-to-head format. And in the UK Open with Felix and Timon, my mum, who doesn't really care much about cubing, when we did the head-to-head at the end, that's when she started to be more interested. But that wasn't really real head-to-head. That was still like what position are you in the top 12 based on the average of your times, which is confusing because there's two people next to each other, but it doesn't matter who's next to who. Whereas PCL is true head to head, just like Monkey League. It's like semi-finals, depending on who wins, makes it to the finals. There's more tension between you and the person next to you who's going to win. And yeah, I think it'd be really cool to do something like that here. I think this head-to-head racing was a proof of concept, just one person versus one person. But in principle, I can make tournaments and events here, and I can let people sort of organize their own between friends in competitions. They want to, keep racing each other, but they're going to meet each other in a month in some other competition, and in the meantime, this is something that they can do between each other.
Yeah. And I presume, like, at some point, you could make it so you can have more than two people racing at the same time. Um,
Yeah, that would be an interesting one. I wonder how that would look like. But uh, yeah, in principle, you can have like a whole like a lot of people at the same time with the same scramble, and then you see who the top n people are, and use that as like seeding for like uh, semi-finals and finals and more sort of tournament level competition.
Restart this back. Um, And yeah, what other plans are there for this? What other features are you going to add?
Yeah, so the thing that I'm most excited to do is the algorithm stuff. I am the trainer. Like I want to add more algorithm sets like CMLL and some ZBLLs, but that'll probably take me a while to go through that whole list. Maybe COLL and potentially even F2L cases. And yeah, just have it really complete where people can select their favorite. They can work on the aspects they think need working and see it in a kind of sensible way. And the other thing that I'm doing now is I'm working on a mobile app for this, a native mobile app, because this doesn't work at all on iPads and iPhones because Mac doesn't allow it on Chrome. And so, as far as I'm aware, there's no app other than the ones that come with the manufacturers where you can use smart cubes on iOS devices. And a lot of people when they're competing, they're doing it on iPads. So um,
Yeah. Mhm. So would it work on Android? Oh, my Android
oh
phone.
yeah, yeah. This works on an Android phone right now.
Right. Okay. And yeah, so it's exciting development if that could work properly. And do you
Yeah.
have any data on like how many people are using this at the moment?
Um, yeah. Right now, there's about 20 something accounts, and there haven't there hasn't been that many people who've started to use it all that much. I think some of the setup is a little more awkward than I'd like around enabling web Bluetooth, and that's one of the reasons why mobile app makes things easier because for security reasons you can't just connect Bluetooth uh, to your browser without like enabling it. It's like an experimental setting that's a bit weird. Like you can't even link to it. So yeah, I'm hoping I can maybe learn something from more people using it. What kinds of things people at different speeds do, and sort of aggregate stats and stuff like that. Um, Maybe some kind of leaderboard would be fun as well. It's a more sort of social side to this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's many things you can do. Right. But I'm going to mess around with this now. Because at the moment, oh, it's disconnected from Bluetooth. Oh dear. I have to reconnect it. Because at the moment, it only records, it assumes everyone does CFOP, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, so I haven't done Rue yet, even though I'm a big fan of Rue. Um, yeah, I the main challenges are well, a I need to recognize a Rue solve, and Rue's a bit more freeform than CFOP, so to sort of recognize the stages, and then to organize the stats depending on whether or not you're using Rue or CFOP. Ideally, I'd want that to be. It looks like you've done the scramble wrong. Ideally I'd want that to be like automatic. I don't want to select between Rue and CFOP, and then if you do one, you do the wrong one, it will get confused. So it's largely a design issue, but and a demand issue. Most people don't use Rue, but after that Stevenage comp and Nick Archer's brilliant victory, I think Rue deserves its spot here.
Mm. Yeah. Right. So what I can do is I can do a full pseudo solve and then um
And it just okay.
obviously I'm nowhere near as good as Time and Kolosinski at this. Um, Good. Think that my 31.56 second solve was a full F2L, OLL, and PLL skip. Mm,
Yeah, and if you do a roux solve, it'll be similarly confused, but not quite as bad.
right. Let's give Rue a go. Right. It's good at Rue. Right. The trouble is when I do Rue, I'm not really doing Rue. I'm just doing Seafort, but without fully solving the cross. Um, right. I don't think you're meant to do are you perms in Rue. Let's see. What does it say? Okay. Yes, okay, white cross.
Yeah, one of the funny things is it doesn't really know that you've done M moves. It always thinks you've done like face moves. And if it doesn't have a gyroscope, there's no way to even in principle calculate it. You can kind of guess it maybe, but that's a bit unreliable.
Yeah.
That's what the apps do as well.
Hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I'll think you've done a whole lot more moves than you really did.
I'm not doing Rue properly, so but I guess the issue here is though, it's not really what you're actually doing because you're doing it from a different angle. Like, is there any way you could say, like, I solve this color cross, therefore can you give me the moves I did from that, assuming I did the cross on the bottom?
Yeah, I was thinking of doing something like that. Um, I think it's doable in principle. I think the hard thing is doing it efficiently, looking at all of the different potential options for how you've done this solve. But if there's a way for the user to constrain it, uh, then maybe that can solve that problem as well.
Hmm.
There's some sort of way of editing and saying, like, here I did a rotation, so please assume everything after this is from that orientation. And here I did this solution first, and it was like this.
Because what? What's happened here? Alg.cubing. Because I'm pretty sure on alg.cubing.net you can mirror stuff and rotate it. Um,
You might want to paste in the scramble as well.
Well, even just scramble. Okay. And then, so yeah, you can mirror it and invert it, can't you? I don't know if you could rotate it, but I'm sure it's possible to get that sort of functionality. Mirror, mirror S, invert. Yeah. Hmm. But yeah, lots of tools out there.
Yeah, and uh, a bunch of stuff from the sort of Speed Cubing DB by Gil Sussman and Cubing.net. Pretty interesting, pretty useful.
Yes, yes. You're not going to be like Gildersman and get annoyed at everyone.
Uh, hopefully not, but no, I think the stuff that he's done is great. And I think one cool thing that he's done that would be nice to do here is to actually um, try out different cross solutions, or instead of just telling it was this many moves and this fast, to say you could have done it like this. That way, it will sort of be a bit closer to the ideal of sort of virtual coach. there's going to be limits to it because it's not going to know which moves are ergonomic or anything like that. Um, but yeah, it would be interesting if it can suggest solutions. Maybe for F2L, that's something that people can do quite long. It can say, hey, for this F2L case, you could have done it in this many moves instead of this or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, because he has got something like that, hasn't he? It's not speedcubedb.net, it's speedcubedb.com, isn't it? It was aldb.net, which people don't really use anymore after this was released.
A scramble analyzer, I think.
Ah, yes. Paste that scramble in there. Filter. Yeah, I haven't used this in a while. I think I might have tested it out once or twice. But yeah, there's some cool features. It's a shame I don't really know how to do anything like this. I've never learnt coding or anything like that. So,
Yeah, that's the nice bit about knowing how to program is if you don't like something, you can make it yourself. That's been a big motivating factor for me.
yeah. Although I suspect it's dying out though, because you can chat GPT a lot of code these days, can't you?
Uh, Not the interesting stuff.
How long will it be though until you can?
I don't know. There's not really a lot of examples of that in the training data. Most of the examples are sort of pretty basic stuff, so I don't really know where it'd get that data from.
Hmm. Because I mean, I've seen adverts for like um coding jobs to train AI bots and things.
I've seen an advert recently where it's like if you have maths knowledge or whatever, you can train it to learn maths or something like that. Oh,
Know what's happened
I,
there?
I don't know if that's your system or if it's the fact that it has to be on the server, but they're exploring so many different possible solutions. It's pretty computationally intense.
Yeah. Well, the Zoom meeting is going to expire soon because it only lasts 40 minutes. Au- Automatically disappears. It just shuts down randomly. Um, yeah, so anything else you want to say before this meeting suddenly closes?
No, thanks for having me on, and yeah, it'd be great if anyone watches this tries it out. And uh, there's a contact section, so if there's something you don't like, you can tell me or something missing, not working.
Yes,
Um,
there's a contact form right here. Hopefully it actually gets to you.
yep.
Unlike one of my bubble envelope suppliers recently, who I discovered their contact form did not work.
I did actually get one contact request on this like a few months ago about signing in, so that was pretty handy.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I mean, I initially had that issue, and then I re realized you don't actually have to even sign in anyway. Mhm. But yeah, it's a great thing, and yeah, thank you for coming. Hopefully,
Thanks
this
for having me.
video will get watched a few times.